Yang berbahagia, Profesor Dato' Abdul Aziz Abdul Latif is a former Deputy Vice Chancellor of DRB Highcom University of Automotive Malaysia and was previously a Deputy Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Alumni at Universiti Malaysia, Kelantan. He currently serves as the Head of Industrial Relation and Collaborations of DRB Highcom University of Automotive Malaysia. Professor Dato' Abdul Aziz, the floor is yours until 4:30. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan selamat petang. Good afternoon. Terima kasih Puan. Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me here. Very familiar place. Dululah, not now. Okay. So, the topic that we're supposed to discuss this afternoon is about the value creation. I think this is a very important topic because I always, when I teach entrepreneurship class, I ask my student, how do you see entrepreneurship? If the student say, I see as someone who create value, then I say, you're right. You're right. So, before I introduce the panel, the distinguished panel, let me give a little bit of my introduction here. I think the entrepreneurial objective is not just to make money in the short run, but more on the value creation. We see a lot of companies who are negative in their income statement, but the share price are rising. Yeah, there are many controversial that we heard lately. One company CEO was appointed to become board of that, but the company is losing money. But on the other hand, the company is really creating values. It's about value creation. Value creation can be tied together with job creation, multiplying effect, rolling effect, spin-off in the value chain of the businesses, and create more. Will create more businesses, yeah? And of course, at the end is economic development. So we are historically, we are import substitution economy, but now we are moving to industrialization. We add more values to our resources because we are so rich in resources. Malaysia is a so rich, resource-rich country. That's why historically, we are being colonized by Japan, Dutch, the British, Portuguese, etc. Because they are poor resource country. They come to our country to exploit our natural resources. We have that. Now we have human resource. Now it's time that we develop our country. So based on that, let me introduce our panel. The first one is on my left. Yang bahagia Datuk Muhammad Daud Bakar, Chair and Board of Trustee of YAPIM. Datuk Muhammad has been as Chair of Board of Trustee for YAPIM for the new season. He is very, I think, during the lunch I talked to Professor Johari. He was telling me about your graduated from St. Andrew, right? Your PhD in St. Andrew. And I think he sits in many corporate boards, Simon Dabi, PNB Investment, and many more. If I were to read all, I think there'll be many more. So welcome, Dato'. And the second one, is the Dr. Jayanti Desan. Am I say it right? Okay, Dr. Jayanti, co-founder and CEO of Strategy and Innovation Boom Grow Productions in Berhad. Okay, I think you would like to tell about your company, a little bit about yourself after this. The third one is the That one is Encik Ahmad Kamel Ahmad Kushairi, CEO of UTM Holding. Somebody tell me about you as well, from UTM this morning. So with that, I think I would like to call our first speaker to talk about your ideas about value creation in entrepreneurial setting. Silakan Datuk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa bihi nasta'in. Thank you, Dato' Moderator, esteemed panelists, distinguished audience, sisters and brothers, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and very good afternoon to everyone. Let me put on record my appreciation and gratitude to the organizers of having me in particular on this stage together with the esteemed panelists to challenge your mind basically, because I was in academic for about 15 years. Then I left the academic world, but I'm still educationist in many ways, teaching and putting the paper and writing books almost every 3 months. One book is out to the market. So I'm very much academician from that perspective, though I'm not teaching as you are doing at the moment. I'm also a corporate, I'm also entrepreneur before I become a corporate guy. I have my own companies, few companies. Datuk mentioned about the IR 4.0. We are the first first fintech company in Malaysia doing that before Khazanah came in 2014 and 15. So as you can see that the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that we impart on our student is very resourceful, is very rich. And that knowledge, the same knowledge that I have and you have, can be converted into commodities. Perhaps during the academic world, many of my mentors and my great teachers, they have some reservation of not saying that knowledge is a commodity. In fact, Datuk Moderator, with your permission, you try not to call it commercialize the value. You just create the value. For me, entrepreneurship is about to create the value and to commercialize the value. Because at the end of the day, we have to look into that perspective. Yes, we need to create new stock of knowledge, new stock of asset and commodities, and those stock could bring back some value to us, either commercially or socially, or job creation and the level of awareness and what have you. So I think first thing first, we need to be truthful to ourselves that we need money. That we need money and we need to talk about money. If you don't like money, you can give your money to me, okay? As simple as that. So we have to create the value and we have to monetize the value. I'm become a Sharia scholar of the world, now going to the corporate world. So the same knowledge of Sharia principle, I'm not a corporate guy, I'm a Sharia scholar by training, but in the process I developed the risk management, I developed corporate culture, I developed governance, I developed product development from Basel III all the way to what have you in the financial world. With that knowledge, it can be converted into a module, into an application, into apps, into what have you. So the dimension of knowledge is huge. That's why in the first series of my interaction with all of you, I would like to urge everyone to value our knowledge. The knowledge that you have in engineering, in mathematics, in the social science, and even religious studies for that matter, is a good start for you to start thinking, how could I, moving forward, develop that together with my student, with the industry collaborators, working together to create an apps, to create a product, to create an idea, if you like, to put in the incubation center of the university. Incubation is something that we need from tomorrow. We need to incubate ideas, perspective that can create the value and can also bring the money back to the university. So this is my first interjection, if you like. I wanted to put my point very clear. We need to create the value and we need to commercialize the value that we have created. Thank you very much.
I think that's the first point. If we think from companies, a lot of companies which are negative in their income statement, but the prices of their share keep on increasing. You know, there are many companies that I think Grab was also losing money. Amazon.com is losing money for many years, but their values increasing at very high rate. You know, that's using their knowledge, using their skills and resources. So that's, I think, something that we can think of from our perspective. You know, let's listen from our second speaker, Dr. Sorry, I got to get your name correct. Go Jayanti, yes, Dr. Jayanti. Dr. Jayanti Desan, please give your thought on on the broad perspective of this topic.
Thank you. It's a real honor to be here with such a distinguished panel and esteemed participants who are all from the universities. I have warm memories of spending many years in the university, but now I stand here as the founder of a startup. So I actually was very encouraged by this invitation, because my point is really that universities, in a way, should rethink how universities function, because there is a purpose to every organization, and as we evolve that thinking around the value of that organization needs to change. But really, universities need to be like startups, and there's lots of learnings and co-learning and co-creation that can happen from that process of startup thinking, which is very entrepreneurial, very lean. I will introduce who I am and sort of my company. We're a very small company, but today we have interest from our products from the Middle East, from Indonesia, from Singapore. Outside Malaysia has been our key markets and key interest, right? So when I came back to Malaysia after finishing a doctorate, I finished a PhD in sustainability, teaching in the area of sustainability standards. So founding a company, essentially in Starbucks, right? Thinking, what should we do? How can we create this whole idea of rethinking farming, which I don't have a farming background, because my PhD is actually in standards of sustainability, but it's really driven from, and I also, after years of advising companies in terms of sustainability strategies, how can companies really innovate? And that's when we landed on this question. I will later come to the point in terms of where universities how universities can learn from the sort of our experience, or how we can collaborate together based on the 3 C's of my point. The point I want to make is there's a context to startups and a context to universities where there can be lots of co-learning, and there's a connection that can be made. Okay, but for now, I will start with Boom Grow and where we are. Basically, it started with us thinking about the future of the food crisis. Why there's a food crisis, and what can we do to address that? And the solution that we have today is really in terms of controlled indoor farming, basically to resolve the issues around labor, around weather, and pricing issues. How do we grow clean food in our local community was the question we asked ourselves. The fresh food market is significant in terms of the value, in terms of it's $240 billion in Southeast Asia itself. So the market was clear, the questions we were asking was very relevant, and we also wanted to address that question of how do we grow it closer in metropolises, in cities where there's lots of issues around farming. Right? And the journey started, it didn't start today. I can show you where we are today and the export markets that are interested in our products and what we have. But this is where we started, because we were not doing precision farming, we were not doing controlled farming. We wanted to grow indoors because we knew that was the way with the issues around climate and whatnot. It was open, we were not controlling our produce, so the vegetables we grew died. We had lots of issues. So there's lots of learning around that. It grew lush, but eventually it never lasted. These were some of the earlier prototypes, beautiful, healthy vegetables, but it didn't, and there was also the issue of scale. Right? So these were all some of the learnings we had, like we can grow this, we can continue growing in these little boxes and produce, but at the end of the day, any entrepreneur needs to know that it's not just about having a product. It needs to be a product that's valuable and that can make money, right? So then that was the second part of the learning. And we reached this stage where we were growing in basically freezers that, a controlled temperature, but it had not yet reached this. This was our ideal vision, where we were growing in an urban setting. This is our current farm in Taman Melawati. What we mean, our farm, this is what we see as the farm today. It is in a residential area. You can go out, you can get your vegetables. It is in a shipping container, really. So it's cheap, it's accessible, it's absolutely controlled because there's temperature, humidity, CO2 enrichment, lighting is controlled. Lighting is our biggest capex in terms of cost, and it's airtight. It's a clean room. Right? So we are able to grow high-value crops like kale, lettuce, and obviously the biggest consumers. Our farm currently is in Taman Melawati. We have Ulu Klang. We have a very good population that, before our vegetables grow, people are waiting to take it up, but there's already restaurants that take it. So we don't have enough capacity to sustain that little community. So we are already looking at Taman Tun, Mount Kiara, so there are a few areas that we are. For us to reach this stage, we also set very high standards. We wanted minimal environmental impact, no chemical runoff, little land usage, and no cold chain. So how did we achieve our goals? We asked ourselves really difficult questions and pushed ourselves, right? Because we could have settled for at a lot of points in that journey and say, no, it's just easier if we could just sell the crops, the produce. But we set those standards, and we really wanted to achieve what we achieved by saying, no matter what, we want to increase vegetable productivity, reduce dependency on manual labor, increase resource use and efficiency. So today, this is what the farm looks like. The farm is actually, today, the farm is the computer, right? So the log tells us precisely what is the light, how are we controlling the air, the temperature. So our current office in Taman Tun controls, there's a current reefer that's going to Jakarta in the next few weeks. So our office in Kuala Lumpur will control the farm. So this is the farm of the future. So this is what my company does. We didn't do this ourselves. We had government support. We went to MDEC, we went to Platcom, so we did raise funds. But at the end, where we are today is, when we talk about farming, we're not talking about we're talking about a light recipe, environment recipe, nutrient recipe. So we've rethought this whole notion of farming, and that's very exciting. Like what I told you, the first interest we've had was not from Malaysia, was from Singapore. They are dying to get us to open our office there, right? So, but we've kind of resisted it because we've had some support. But I suppose the question we want to throw back is, how can we collaborate better with universities? Universities have the context that we want. You have professors who've been researching these areas, whom we can collaborate with the students. Number two, context and connect. Right, that facilities that you have where we can park some of these, our reefers there will be fantastic for us to test bed. So this will be some of the further discussion I would like to have with the panel and the group. Thank you.
We have I got a few questions to ask myself.
Yeah,
but
let me just
after this, we will let the third speaker first. We come back to the second round.
Yes.
Third speaker is Cik Kamel Kushairi. From UTM Holding. I think Cik Kamel can share a lot of information on how to create value within the university holding companies or university holdings organizations. Because I think this is another platform that the university are doing to generate extra revenues for university. Is that right? Yeah. Please, Cik Kamel, Cik Ahmad Kamel.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Datuk. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, just a bit about UTM Holdings. I mean, we have all our colleagues from all over the Universiti Awam that is representing the holdings today. So today, I think we are quite grateful to have myself to actually share with you a bit of our experience on how we actually develop a mixed development complex in our own campus, on our own land. Tadi Datuk Sri Zaini has shared you a bit of the information, saved me a couple of slides. in a few minutes. So, but today is, what interesting about this project is that it's a collaboration between the university, the staff, the students, the alumni, and also the holdings. And basically, industry is the last end of the supply chain. So as Datuk Sri Zaini mentioned, that we took a loan, self-financing from EPF over a period of 15 years. I mean, we're quite lucky that our chairman is also chairman of EPF. But we got a very competitive rate, and we can actually amortize the loan over a period of 15 years. The first initial, plan that we actually, the reason why we developed this project is because KL campus, I would say UTM is one of the Universiti Awam that has a city campus. So we recognize the demand of the 21st century. I mean, from students, even though from the local students or international students, they always wanted more from the universities. A better facilities, a better accommodation, basically a lifestyle. And some of them is willing to pay. So we know that we have a good location. We know that we have a land that we can actually monetize and build this property. So that's where the idea comes from. But basically, it's all about leadership. I think UTM has a very progressive and innovative leaders that is actually bold to take the loan. Luckily, it's not us that took the loan. So UTM developed this since 2014. The idea comes to 2013 as Dr. Suzani, we tendered out, we get a good competitive price for the development. And we thought that, okay, what can we do after we have the building? Give it to UTM Holdings. This is the first time actually for holdings, for us to actually manage a property at this scale. We used to have a small scholars inn, we have a few hostels that we manage, but this is something different. This is something which we have to really understand the market demands. As we say, sometimes when we build something, we don't really analyze what the industry wants. Sometimes we don't understand the market possibility, the potential that we can have. So there's a lot of studies that we have to do in order to make this project successful. Because building is easy, right? Building is easy. You have the money, you have a good contractor, you can get a property. But the idea of the day is how you can actually get the money back to pay the loan, right? Okay, so a bit about the property. It's a mixed-use property accommodation. Property owner is, of course, UTM. Total cost is about 180 million, inclusive of GST. At that time, we still have GST. So total cost is about 220 ringgit per square feet, which is, I think, quite good at that point of time. Financed by EPF, 15 years term loan, 180 million. So we spread it over 15 years. Land area is only about 4.28 acres. Total villa 818 square feet, including of car park. Escalation is about 16%. And then we have 4 main components. 4 towers, and also podium consists of retail and also commercial lots. So the 4 towers has we have about 700 rooms, right? There's a lot of rooms. And we cannot sell at 3 ringgit per day. So what are we going to do with it, right? So we have a discussion, and we thought that we have to change a bit of the business model. When we first built it, I think most of the university's first challenge that we have before we actually build a property is to actually, the biggest challenge that our land is institution, right? I think most of our land are institutionally zoned. We cannot build a commercial property. So the first, when we first built this, the building plan is submitted with education zoning. So we built it as student accommodation center, including the 4 towers that we have and the retail outlet, which got approved. We were quite lucky of that. When we build when we have 700 rooms, so we know that it's fully furnished with air conditioning. I'll show you the rooms later. So the charges, how much are we going to rent, right? So we have to find out from the students. That's where the students come in and give all the inputs. So we know how much the local students can afford, how much the international students can afford, how much the students from China were willing to pay, how long are they going to, pay, or how much deposit we can charge them. So all these come into analysis which requires you to do before we actually make sure that we can actually pay off the loan. Right. Oops. Okay, so just to share, after 2 years, we operated in 2017. So after 2 years, we're gonna make sure that this property has a good brand. So what does it take for us to make sure that we are not another, a normal, a mall, right? It's a small mall, it's a neighborhood mall, but we want the good brand names to come in. So that's the difficult part. Because when we build something, we always forget to talk to our customer first. Same like research. When we say that we want to do research, right? We never go to the industry and say, okay, what you actually need in the next 5 years? Not now, the next 5 years. What do you actually need in the 5 years? So that if I do research now, in the 5 years, I can sell it to you. So this is something which we actually did do when we build a commercial area. We always think that, okay, we can get the retail in after that. Later that we know that all of these retail or all these brand names has their own statement needs. They have their own requirements, specification. Burger King, KFC, they all cook all 100% using electricity. That means one outlet, normal outlets, we only put 60 kilowatt, 60 watts. They require 250 watts. So we have to spend now more money to make sure that they come in. The sizes, for example, we didn't know Tesco license is only for 30,000 square feet. They cannot do less than that, right? You need 30,000 square feet. We don't know that. We didn't know that Guardian requires maybe 2,000 square feet at least. They don't do anything less than that. Some of them would prefer in front, some of them needs visibility, some of them, well, they don't mind going behind, but they have, a smaller lots. So all these are things that we did not do. So we actually had a hard time knocking at all the retail outlets to come and make sure they can actually, rent out space. So what we did was we hired a third-party independent valuation company that actually does the, geographical demand or how the potential of the building. So this becomes an independent report for them actually based on, for them to make decisions, right? So at the end of 3 days, we have quite a good brand names in. We have My News, Guardian, Speedmart, T-Life, Hot and Roll, KFC, Burger King, Old Town, and all that. So this is actually quite a good achievement. Maybe one of the greatest attraction for all these companies to come in is because it's also a mixed development. Let's say, for example, if we want to build a hotel, right? We can build a hotel, but if it's a standalone hotel, then maybe it has a little bit of disadvantage. It has to be something which have a good ecosystem whereby when you stay in the hotel, if you have a mall downstairs, maybe that will be most likely for you to choose, right? And then if you have your favorite outlet in that mall, that would be a better thing to do. So if you go for a meeting, then your family can actually enjoy the mall around it. We also provide good facilities. So the mixed complex has a variety of facilities. We have a pool, a big pool on the podium facing KLCC. We have a 10-lane bowling, 10-pin bowling, 10 lanes. One lane costs a lot of money, so we only can afford 10. But one thing good about 10, that when you do a competition, they can take the whole 10 lanes. So there's exclusivity on that. And the rates that we charge is not that high, so that we can actually attract more people until 12 o'clock. It's always full. And then we have a multi-purpose hall. Of course, ours is like next door to Felda Perdana. Felda Perdana is offering about 1,000 rods, so we do slightly lower. We don't want to beat the big guys, right? There's no point fighting in the competition. You have to know where you stand, right? So we did somewhere in the middle, so we sell 500 capacity. If you do buffet, you can do up to 700-800 packs, which is then okay. Then we can actually get a piece of the market, right? A piece of the cake. And then we have hotels, right? We have 2 towers. So now we have 700 rooms. I mean, how are you going to sell to all these students? Not everybody has that kind of money to pay, right? So I told myself, no, let's change it to hotel. Because hotel attracts international people, right? When they buy online, right, they come and stay there, our tourists. So that would be a good mixture of, mixture of customers who has the different kind of purchasing power to buy. Because we have 10,000 students, we have MINDEF next to us, FELDA next to us, government offices, All of them people have different type of purchasing power. So this hotel will create additional layer of different segment of customers for us. But we're not gonna run a hotel. It's not easy. So we thought ourselves, let's work with hoteliers. Let's call them and then get them to actually lease the building from us over a period of 30 years. So that makes it bankable for me to go to the finance company or the bank later on and say, look, I have a contract with a bigger hotel over 30 years period. And I have, nowadays, our total revenue is about 1.2 to 1.3 million a month, which is enough, like Dr. Zani, to pay whatever loan that we take from EPF over after 2 years. So that would be, quite a good cash flow. But after a while, then you have a challenges of collection, right? So it's not easy to collect. You have to make sure that they can also survive. Right. So we provide student and staff accommodation as well. So student and staff accommodation, we have 3 bedrooms apartment, 2 bedrooms apartment. So all these segments, easily out of 10,000 students, we have maybe easily 300 to 400 students that require this place anytime. And they're willing to pay 1,000 ringgit a room. Imagine we have 3 bedrooms apartment. So what we did was we ran by the rooms. So if they pay 600 per room, they wouldn't know who their friends are. Of course, male and male, female and female. But it's okay. For them, they have an air-conditioned room, they have a TV, a living room, a kitchen, so that they can cook. So it's quite a good environment. And then we have hotel. This is Royal Bidak Hotel. Then we have Regency. We also have, this is the bowling, and the swimming pool. So it's kind of nice facility that we have. We have a seminar, meeting rooms. So all of this, even UTM itself is one of the customers. We have to charge UTM. It's business, right? They cannot come and say, oh, this is my building, and I'm not going to pay for it. They have to pay for it because you appointed me as the property manager. It's business, right? But of course, they will ask for a lot of discounts, so you have to give discounts. But one thing good about UTM is like they are very supportive of whatever, because it's their property. Most of the seminars or whatever the functions that they do commits and also support these facilities. We also have a lot of support from all other universities, especially KPM, KPT and all that. Right. Then we have Grand Banquet Hall residence. It's a popular thing. Saturday, Sundays is fully booked until the end of the year. I mean, we never thought about that. So we provide all the facilities. My team over there, I mean, they have done a good job. Getting customers is not easy, but once you have them coming in, the first 2-3 months, then it's like free flow. Everybody knows about it. The best is word of mouth. So you can never fail on the service, because once you fail on the service, then it gives you a bad impression or a bad perception to the market. Then we have, okay, this is part of the mall. The reason why I want to show you, because it's not just a business. When you actually build something like this, we thought that it's going to be a good platform for universities to actually interact, not just with the society, but also to give opportunity for our lecturers, our students to embark in business. So this is one of the, I would say, culture that UTM has, I think, quite different from other universities. We actually promote, this is one of the spin-off company from university, Living Active. They do research on, I think this is virgin coconut oil or something like that. So we give them a good space for them to actually sell their product, because they can't get this opportunity and go to KCC or other mall. It's going to be expensive. So we do it like a CSR. Of course, they have to pay rent, slightly 20% cheaper, but they actually had the chance to sell the market and be one of the outlets. Then we have Alumni Cafe. Alumni can take part as well. So this is quite a good platform for actually they can go into entrepreneurship. Then we have a local, I think most of your universities have seen this, Richiamo. They were, I think, number 2. They came to you. Before that was somewhere in the north. I think now they have 9 outlets. So this is a local franchise. Now we have 3 or 4 local franchises that we actually make sure that we help them, right? Because sometimes it's difficult for a startup or a new franchise to go and enter a big market like this. So we give them a good place. So now they are expanding. They have, I think, about 9 outlets altogether, all over the universities. We have printing. This is also one of our lecturers who actually retired and wanted to do printing, so we give them. He's doing a good job. This is also one of our lecturers who actually extended her contribution to the university, so she opened up one. But of course, we guide them on how the design should be. It has to be correlative or actually the same strength as what the other retailers are doing, right? Then, of course, we have it in space as one of the biggest tenants. So the good thing about it is because everyone has a piece of the cake, right? Even the students, if they want to work part-time, this is the chance that they can actually have a part-time job in a hotel. This is actually encouraged. After school, 6 o'clock, you see students manning the reception counters. And they get good, decent 6 ringgit per hour kind of thing. But it's in a safe environment, it's within our UC. So they feel that, this is something which they appreciate and they learn a lot. Some of them are good baristas now. They can do coffees, So we feel that this is something which not only a business thing, but it's also a good opportunity for everyone to have a piece of it. Right? So this is one, I thought I'd share a video with you guys. Oh, there is no sound. Tak ada sound, Okay. There's no sound, right? Tak ada. Okay. Huh? Sound. Ada sini. Okay, that is sound. But if you have any other questions, you can enjoy the video while we have questions. Thank you.
Terima kasih Cik Ahmad Kamil. If I can recall back what these three speakers have said, I think they started with ideas, new ideas, The ideas and combined with knowledge, as Datuk said, and technology, as Dr. Jayansi said, and they transform this knowledge, the ideas and knowledge into a business venture, I call it. I call it business venture. Like UTM, they already have the company through their holding company. So like Dr. Jayanti started a Boom Grow Production Sdn Berhad. And by doing that, so they create values, of course. They create, like you're creating jobs, creating new businesses, spillover business, spin-off businesses, like cafe, bowling, etc., hotel, etc. I think Dr. Jayanti also the same thing. You're creating new supply, new job being created. Like Dr. Kamil, Encik Ahmad Kamil said, the student can get jobs, part-time, get some money to pay for their expenses. And of course, Datuk also mentioning about knowledge. I think I would like to ask Datuk, how do we create value without physical establishment? Like you said, knowledge. How do we push out our organization, for example, our university to the higher level, but through other medium, not just the venture we created. Can you? I think your knowledge on that, please.
Thank you, moderator. I think as we progress and evolve towards IR 4.0. Many of the brick and mortar economy will disappear in no time. Perhaps in the future, many businesses, other than of course hotel, people still need to sleep in the hotel. But other than that, we need to be prepared to be more intangible, more digital, and digital world has no boundaries. And this is something that the knowledge has also no boundaries. So from one point of view, the frontier of knowledge has no borders and limitation. Digital world has no borders as well. So we have seen how the value has been created through technology. You take Grab, so we can do Grabization on almost everything. So of course they focus on the transportation. From transportation, they develop the data. From data, they develop the financial products by offering their frequent customers the cheap loan and insurance and what have you. They package the whole thing. And the same thing goes to WeChat. WeChat is the most powerful company in the world thus far because they can combine all the Facebook, Amazon in one, in fact, the PayPal in one platform. I don't think WeChat is something rocket science. I think students and professors can do the same WeChat kind of application. But we need to have some idea. You look into WeChat in China, this is not rocket science. It's very much combining all the payment gateway, or the choice of products and all the facilities in one apps, and that apps is called WeChat at the moment. So moving forward, of course, you can put a lot of millions of dollars to set up the infrastructure if you have money, but to start lean and to start, with the low cost, perhaps the low-hanging fruit at the moment is to focus on creating ideas and using the modern technology, which has only one cost at one time, and it can be replicated over and over to transform your knowledge into products. In my case, I have the fintech, I have the big data. So with the same data we have, we can do research on construction. We have done on shipping companies in Malaysia. We have done on the Petronas companies. We have done on the shipping data, where to buy, where to maintain and repair for the cheaper cost. So with the technology that you have, the data you have, you can cover all the markets. And this is something professors and student in particular is your asset. Students whom you have at the campus are your asset because they're hungry, they have more time, you don't have the time, so they can be your RA. I mean, RA is your own word. For me, they are very much your agent to put all the data, to find the data, and to transform the data into something that can be sellable to the market. And this is something you can do that across the board, marketing-wise. You can do it on a property-wise. You can do it on the entertainment, services, sport, not to mention the high-level kind of, of economic policies, of the marketing of the products. Student and professor, when they're combined and put the technology in between, I think you can do a lot of things. You can transform the university to become a very powerful factory of ideas, products, and also to churn the value into some bottom line, which is revenue to the university. Thank you.
Okay, I think what Dato is saying, I think what I can understand. You have technology, you have knowledge, but you also need marketing skill, financial skill, so that you can move along the value chain. So creating more businesses along the way. Is that right, Dato? So,
very much.
Very much, okay. And Dr. Jayanti, this is interesting what you're doing. I think very, very interesting. It looks like something new, even though agriculture is one of the longest industry in the world, the oldest industry in the world. But the way you put the technology together to create new enterprises, and of course the creation of spillover effect, I think a lot. You're talking about marketing to Singapore, etc. Because people are cautious about chemical, etc. About the poison, not poison, the harm, the harm of the chemicals, insecticide, pesticide, etc. So I think I would like to put this question forward to you, that how do you see the future of this kind of industry from your perspective that you are doing? I think you've been a lot playing in your mind. Okay, thank you. Please. Yeah.
It's a great question. It's a big question as well. I suppose in a way, for us to look at the future, we need to look at the present. And the present challenge is, in a way, the challenge of the startup is the challenge of the university. There's some similarities. We are actually very lean. We are very small. We sound like we are so big, that we have such big resources. We have a very small office. Our people all double hat, triple hat. I also do the marketing, I do the finance, I do the admin, I do everything. And my co-founder is an architect who also does the software, who does so. we don't have the luxury. I'm talking about the present in order to get to the future. Yeah. So the present struggle is that when we don't have the luxury of resources, I suppose, that has enabled us to innovate in the present itself. And because we asked ourselves really questions which people thought were, oh, you can't have this because it's so cheap to get vegetables, chemical-loaded vegetables from China. Who's going to buy these vegetables? But the minute it was ready, like what I said, we cannot meet the demand of the market. The market wants chemical-free vegetables. People like you would be very willing to pay that kind. The middle-class market is ready to pay for that good vegetables for your families. Right? So there is demand. So we met that demand. When we started, of course, it was that. So I think the questions we asked were always pivoting. So in a way, we came to the future by re-asking and reinventing the questions. The future is still riddled with even more questions because the challenge we have now is that we are looking to hire AI specialists, artificial intelligence, machine vision, because we're developing, the technology is getting so precise, we want to track the growth of the plant daily. We don't want, because now after one season, the farmer says his crops have not grown. We want to know on a daily basis if, even before you put in the seedlings, we have already tested the seedlings. We know 100% is going to grow. There is no, so when you put a farm in, basically that by farm I mean it's a shipping container, but it can be a room like this, can be a farm of the future. That's the future for us. You exactly know. So if a business, anybody wants to invest, you know that for 100,000 ringgit, this is your return of investment in 6 months, guaranteed. Because the future is controlled by the machine, right? So, but the challenge is still human challenge. We still need the resources. We need these skilled people. We need to collaborate with the thinkers in the universities who are thinking of all these at a very deep level because we are moving so fast. Like what I said, we are double hatting, triple hatting, quadruple hatting. We need the deep thinkers, deep domain knowledge, and then we need the students who are able to pick up these things quite fast because the challenge is on a daily basis. So, many challenges for the future, but it's quite exciting.
I remember Dr. Dianti. I was in Canada. I studied in Canada, deep middle Canada, Saskatchewan and Calgary. So I was there for 4 years there. I was wondering at that time, during winter, minus 30 degrees outside, we still get fresh vegetable in the supermarket. I think there's something that I think you see the opportunities here. Yeah? See the opportunities. People always look at the opportunities. But let me put you another question.
Okay.
Is there any problem, any needs that any problem, any kind of spot or kind of need that you require in order to expand, to realize your vision? You are talking about not enough supply, etc. We got export to other countries, etc. Do you face any problem, any needs or any problem right now? I think you have to move forward to expand it because the demand is outside is still negative. I call it negative from your side, positive on the other side, but negative on your side. You cannot supply because another problem that might face with some of our entrepreneurs that they cannot supply. They cannot meet the market needs. This is what happens in many small businesses, especially. Please, another question to you. Sorry.
I agree. It's again a good question because if you ask me about problems, then I can sit here and talk to you all day, right? Yeah, because the problem is very simple. It's human capital. It is funding. Right? As we are raising funds all the time. We've raised funds yesterday, but the next day we wake up, we have to raise funds again because we are expanding. That's the only way we can survive. And I suppose it's the same for you as people who run the universities. You raise your endowment, you've raised your grant, the next day you need to wake up and do it again. And it is, I suppose, at the end, that resilience, you need to say that I can't give up. And you can reach the point, there's lots of blood, sweat, and tears, right? It costs a strain to everything. You have no time, no social life, because the business becomes your life in a way. And there are times when you ask, why do you do this, right? You can have a regular life. I suppose it's the same thing. You're sitting here and say, why am I doing this? I have a job. You started life very idealistic, wanting to teach in the university, do research. But I suppose in any job you do, it's that how you sell And I suppose Professor Zaini just now, God, master seller, he can sell ice to the Eskimos, right? So, and I suppose that's how it works, and that's what we do too on a daily basis. Whether you feel like you're dying and nothing can work and it's all chaos, the vegetables have all died after 30 days because somebody tweaked something somewhere. It's not that it hasn't happened. We are still raising. I suppose the challenge is in a way that we cannot give up, and we continue to raise. So we need to continue raising funds and search for the skills we are looking for. In a way, are future skills. Some of them don't even exist. It's easy for us to import. We can get very good technologies from Philippines, for example, cheap. But it's not sustainable for a small business to keep doing that. So we need to hire locally and train people. So those are also the other challenges. Yeah.
Dr. Jayanti, if I compare with textbook in entrepreneurship, she is an entrepreneur. They have that character, that mindset.
It's a long way to go.
We certainly hope that your venture will be expanded into large enterprises in the future, so we can eat more healthy food. Okay, to Encik Kamel, it was amazing that Datuk Zaini was mentioned a little bit this morning about the idea of transforming the campus, city campus, city campus. You are presenting that, from a traditional university which is beyond our thinking many years ago, how come this idea came through, And you mentioned already a little bit, maybe you want to add something. How this become a reality, which beyond, outside the box at that time, but now it's not inside the box anymore. Now within the box, not outside the box. Can you share with us, with the audience?
Sure. You see, we always think what we're gonna have, what do we want to have in our campus in the next 5 or 10 years. It's never now, right? We realize that now, since government has stopped giving scholarships or even grants, not many of our students have the liberty or the opportunity to study overseas. So what's happening now is that most of the smart students even, right, they are competing to go to the best universities, right? So it's a 21st century or the millennium students, right? So what do they actually look for in a university? Of course, when you look at the best 10 universities, nobody questions about your education standards. It's like buying a BMW, right? You don't actually ask the guy, marketing guy, how's the engine? He will look at you and see. But you're talking about the services, you're talking about the design, you're talking about what do you actually provide extra than any other vehicles provide. So this is something which we feel we have to provide now to actually maintain being relevant to the education sector. So that's why we have a master plan to make sure that at least the KL campus is one of the campuses that will provide that kind of lifestyle and that kind of state of the art, we always use that name, facilities that students require. So we have to know how much they can afford to pay in the next 2 or 3 years, provide that kind of facilities, and then make sure that we can actually take the steps now, because you can actually, it's difficult to build something in a constrained area because we only have 46 acres of land. Not unlike Johor, we have 2,500 acres. You only use 400 acres of land, we can build anything there. But in KL, it's not the same, because as Datuk Sri Zaini was mentioning, some of the old buildings still there. So how are we going to change, or are we going to do a transit where we can actually move? Because education have to move, right? The labs has to be there, the lecture theaters has to be there. So how are we going to, move gradually to make sure that this campus will become, for us, one of the best city campus in Malaysia? Same par as what the private universities are offering. You see, private universities is one of the options. People who has money go to private universities. That was 5 or 10 years ago. Now, people who has money even considering to go to local universities because they know local universities can offer that kind of facilities. Maybe not as good as Sunway, Taylor's, or something like that, but we are getting there. So the next 5-10 years, we have a master plan where we do it gradually. Of course, there's a lot of limitations. We don't have that kind of money anymore from the government. So we have to be creative, innovative. Even for holdings, I think for most holdings, we are taking that responsibility to source for money. It's not easy. We can't pledge the land. We cannot get guarantee from the board, right? Our assets to gearing is not that good. It's not difficult. It's difficult to get loans as much as 100 million. So how are we going to do development if you don't have that kind of financial capability? University has. They're different. Most universities will have 500, 600 million fixed deposit, right? But we cannot spend that money because you need to actually have reserve. It's an institution. As what one of the speakers was saying, we have to protect the institution. It's an education institution. They cannot be facing legal consequences. They cannot be facing financial obligations to. It's not their thing. It's the holding responsibility to do it. So we have to be innovative, creative, to find ways how we can actually raise funds to do this development. We can either go on joint venture. I mean, most of our holdings are doing that as well. We can work with partners, contractors. We can get sukuk funds. We can get investors from pension funds overseas that's willing to actually give you money without any collateral. There's a lot of ways. So this is one thing that I think is a necessity to do. And we have to keep on doing it to be relevant. Thank you.
Certainly need a lot of knowledge, need a lot of skill, technical management knowledge, and marketing knowledge, and financial knowledge, etc. Before this project was started, I mean, it be of course by a team, you know? Yeah. Not in the individual, because it's an organizational. Yeah. It's an entrepreneurial venture by a university, which is quite outside the traditional thinking, you know. Do you foresee any risk, or the committee that do you evaluate the probability of failure or pass or what? Can you share with us? Maybe,
yeah, sure.
Because some people before they got back the venture, they're scared, you know, takut.
You know, yeah,
okay.
Of course. I mean, before we do any business, we go a lot of workshops. We go to 10 times. I have to present to LPU maybe more than 5 times to convince them that this project will be viable. But of course, university like UTM, we are quite lucky because we have all these architects, land surveyors, we have engineers, civil, mechanical, utility, we have it all. We have all the resources. So these resources that we have contribute a lot on what would be the best practices, the best design. So when we actually appoint a contractor, they are facing all these professors that we actually work together with to make sure that we are actually up to date with the best, to get the best from the best contractors with the best price. So I think that is one way that we actually minimize, or we actually mitigate our risks to make sure that we can, but of course in business there's always risk. If you think about having zero risk, then there's no way we can actually do anything, right? So the bigger the risk, the bigger the gains. But of course, as a university, even though holdings in a way has a bit of barrier to protect university in whatever business we do, you see, like when we do a development, right? Like what we did here is actually a big risk because there is no guaranteed return, right? We build something without having prior agreement for somebody else to lease. Unlike other business that we do, for example, we do a hostel, right? We know we have 10,000 students. We only have 3,000 hostel. There's a gap of 7,000 ringgit. 3,000 of our students stay outside. That's a market for it. So I went to the bank and said, there's a market for it. I want to take a loan. University will lease from me after the building is completed. So that is the calculated risk, right? We have a JVCO we have a joint venture company with the hospital, KPJ. KPJ says, okay, you have the land, we got the hospital license. I told KPJ, look, I'll build the hospital for you, but you have to lease from me for 30 years with the pre-agreed agreement to lease before I go to the bank and get it. So it's a big risk. But I know at the end of 30 years, somebody will pay me for the loan, right? So that's a lower risk. But as you say correctly, right, this is crazy because you build something without having a tenant. So we have to look for a tenant. That's why if I were to give some advice, if you get some tips, if you do something like this, you have to actually talk to the customers first. Approach McDonald's. What do you need? How big a space you need? What is your electricity requirement? Right? Do you want in front? Do you let? Why don't you sign with them an agreement to lease or something, MOU, right? Tesco, for example. Get the biggest tenant in, because once you have, like our first customer was Burger King, right? Burger King. They came and they said, it was not even Burger King, Speedmart came. Speedmart came and said, well, look, I'm looking more like Jaya Grocer type of thing. But he said, well, I want to come in, right? But they said, if I come in, I bring in Burger King. I said, I didn't know that time Speedmart owns Burger King, right? So they came in together. So I have to have a Speedmart. Speedmart has 1,680 outlets. They're huge. They open up very fast. I told them, look, this is a mall. I know most of your outlets are in the shop lots. So why don't you do a different model? Right? Do a better rack or something like that. Improve your design. They say, this is our design, this is our branding. We cannot change. The color we cannot change. It's green, yellow, people see from outside. So anyway, when we do this, we learn a lot from our tenants, how they actually do business, how they actually sustain, how they actually strategize their pricing. This Tea Life, they do free one, buy one for a month. I told them it's crazy, I don't think it works. It works. The queue was so long for 1 month. Because they said pricing is sensitive and students is price sensitive, right? You give one free one for one student, you sucker for that. So they were like, so all these things, had to take into consideration.
I can share some experience. I was many years ago given a task to lead the building of student hostel for 5,000 students in budget. I was the deputy vice chancellor at that time. And of course, the changing in the government policy from UCAS to PFI and then to third-party financing, It's very difficult to do because that we have to overcome that. But after that, we establish a holding company within a holding company, and the board decided to give the management of the finished hostel to the holding company. Or be managed by holding company. But the building of this construction will be done by a private entity, using third-party financing. But I think a very tough job. Until today, Mr. Arham, no building has been put on the ground yet. It's a lot of ding-dong bureaucracy. I think what UTM has done, I think, is an excellent example. Thank you. And we got a few more minutes left. I think I would like to give a free lunch to all the panels to say anything that come up from your mind. Maybe you have other things that you would like to share with the audience.
I think doing business is not that difficult, to be honest. Our job is to find the dots and to connect the dots, because the university have no time and perhaps power to initiate new business, but you have all the time and resources and expertise to connect the dots. Connecting the dots is something that can be done quite easily to all the available potential opportunities, unless you have big land bank, for example, then you can start talking about properties and whatnot. So I try to be a bit practical in the approach. Number two, the subject of entrepreneurship. Again, when I was at the university before, I was trying my hard to convince the Senate to make this course 101 on entrepreneurship is an compulsory elective, I call it. It's elective, but make it complete, because the future is not for the government. The future is not for private sector. It's for our young people to be on their own feet, to be entrepreneurs, from the very basic knowledge all the way to high skill knowledge of, robotic and, automated engineering and whatnot. So entrepreneurship should be in the blood of our students. We cannot be preaching and expect them to go out and take all the risks. So this is for your future graduate, but for the professors, I think they got to be exposed as well to be trained, to be able to think as entrepreneur, to be able to absorb the risk, to like the risk, not only absorbing but also liking the risk, because in doing business we can't run away from taking the risk. The third one, perhaps my advice to my own friend and colleagues among the academia, is to basically create a new narrative in the university, because again, I can speak on my own experience. I can say that many talent are being wasted in the university. So we have to unlock the talent and put the talent on the center stage in terms of business opportunities. And perhaps the Ministry of Higher Education should have a task force to really unlock the talent of the universities. I'm sure out of so many professors, so many great scholars of the university, all of them, or most if not all of them, are able to create the value and to monetize and commercialize the value. But someone got to, extract the real value of the professors. This is my conviction. I have seen my own colleagues when I was at University Islam at IUM. I think all of them are talented, but there's no dedicated task force program, such a program to upskill them, enhance them, give more confidence, and they could do wonders if they are given all the opportunities. I think I will stop at that juncture. Thank you very much.
I think my final thing will be that if universities can start acting more like startups, that each one of you have the ability and resources to actually create and unlock a lot of value. And it's not just big. A lot of this can be jargon. Sometimes we leave a conference and we feel I heard so many big words. What is value? What is unlock? And all these things. But if you just think that, my God, there's so much years of research and resources that you have. And some of the things that you're doing are so cutting edge. The industry is dying for it. But it is also knocking on the doors and showing what you have. I suppose that's the gap, and really pulling your socks and saying, look, we can. This is what I have. And my final message, I suppose, is that marketing needs to be better, and not as an institution. Well done to the big thinkers, but it doesn't have to be so big and so overwhelming. Each one of you can unlock and do lots of things, because you have already that body of knowledge and expertise which you can, well, not so much monetize is one thing, but create that kind of ecosystem where maybe your students then create businesses and then become empowered. But it's so many, the whole ecosystem thinking resides within you. Thank you.
Creating value, I think everybody can play a part. It's not just the university, it's always the staff, the professors, the students, even the alumni, the one that actually left the university. You see, everybody plays a part in order to create value, or actually to generate any benefits back to the university. Creating value doesn't mean monetary. Sometimes it's also advice, sometimes it's also, efforts that you actually pitch, or actually market, or actually, relay information. All those are values. So I think, in a nutshell, that if everybody plays a certain role, I think we can create a lot of potential for the universities. Thank you.
We heard from our panels about value creation, wealth creation, new ventures, job creation, etc. I think when I was at the university, UMK, many years ago, I was asked to lead the Entrepreneurial Institute. And then we, together with the KPT team at the time, to think about the policy for students. So the two ways come in our mind. One is to create entrepreneurial graduate, the other one is graduate entrepreneur. Two different, yeah. That means all of us, regardless of what we do, we have to be enterprising, entrepreneurial in our way of doing job. And of course, a few students at that time, our target is only 5% of our graduate that will become graduate entrepreneur who really started the businesses and create job. We call job creators instead of job seekers. At that time we use the word job creators. So I think that's, and then of course we heard about, and I also think that if our enterprising, entrepreneurial infrastructure become developed, then only we can become developed nation. Without that, I don't think negara Malaysia akan jadi negara maju tanpa infrastruktur entrepreneur yang mantap. Itu, dan dengan itu saya nak mengambil kesempatan di sini mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada Prof. Dr. Nordin, Maklumat AKEPT, dan juga tim daripada UIA yang hebat. Bagi tepukan kepada tim sekretariat hebat selalu kontak saya. Dan not least but not less, let us give a round of applause to our panelists today. So terima kasih, thank you very much. Back to the secretariat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Aziz, for moderating the session. Our appreciation goes also to the three distinguished speakers.